I'm Austri Reifer, and you're listening to Good Vibes Sunday, a podcast brought to you by I Am Warhol, the blog. Every other Sunday, I'll be sitting down with provocative thinkers, industry disruptors, and culture changers. My intention for every guest is to talk about breaking barriers, shifting old paradigms, and really just opening up in vulnerable conversations. In between guests, I'll be having Candid Sundays, which are where I just come in and I have a candid day where I just talk about life and I do life with you guys. Good Vibes Sunday is a place to fuel up on good vibes every Sunday. I don't pretend to have the answers to all of life's questions, and I only hope that my personal experiences and those that I share of others will help you in some way to be able to relate those into your life and hopefully bring you that much closer to the answers that you do seek. So please join me on this journey of getting your dose of good vibes and filling our homes and our hearts with good vibes. Hey you guys, welcome back. So this week I'm doing a Candid Sunday, and I'm kind of in a place right now where I've been, last time I checked in with you guys and had a Candid Sunday, I was a little out of balance, and I told you that this week, or whenever I did my next Candid Sunday, that I would come back in and check back in with you guys and let you know how I've been doing. And where I've landed is back in this place of asking, why is it that I'm not aware of listening to what the universe is telling me? Like, I've been in a place where I've just last time I checked in, I was in a funk, right? So I was just kind of drifting by my life and just doing more than being. And I don't know, I was able to just practice mindfulness, to practice, just the practices that I preach. I many times have said that I don't proclaim to be perfect. All of these guidelines and principles that I practice aren't on 100 all the time. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect. But I think the biggest goal is always to strive just to go back to that place, just to always just shift my mindset to bring me back there. And it's every time I've done it, guys, I'm telling you, my life, our life, my husband's and mine, my little guy too, it just feels right. Everything just grows from going back to that place. So with that said, one of the biggest questions that I feel like I've been asking is, why is it that I'm not aware of listening to what the universe is telling me? That is one of those questions I go back to. I'm like, okay, you got to be aware. You've got to be aware. And when I go back to this place, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to ask this, I can't put judgment. I can't put judgment on that unconditional side. We can't just put the judgment on that. We're so good at saying this isn't what I planned, so therefore it can't be good, right? It must be bad. This isn't what I planned, so therefore this can't be right. This isn't comfortable, therefore it isn't teaching me anything. But wait, no, maybe it's not comfortable because it's pushing us. Maybe it doesn't feel good because it's expanding us. Maybe something or someone outside of ourselves, of the ego, I like to call this God, sees something for us that we don't. So those circumstances, that thing that you feel you didn't plan for, whatever it is that isn't comfortable, may not be good for you at that moment. Well, God, or whatever you believe in, sees that thing as a blessing. That this thing happening to us, these circumstances that are pressing in upon us, or that aren't as comfortable or aren't feeling so good, are sometimes, and most of the time, blessings in our life. So how can we become more aware of this? It's about finding the blessing in all things, you guys. As cliche as that might sound, it really is about finding the blessing, about finding gratitude in that moment. I'm going to give you guys an example. Adam and I, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that we live in our family home, my family home, the home I grew up in because my mother figure passed away. and I inherited this home. I took over this home. So this home, she had cancer and kind of let this home fall apart. And so when Adam and I moved in, there's been a ton of stuff, a lot of things that we've had to fix. And it's definitely not up to par, especially me being a designer, him, being a real estate and just living in construction, growing up with a construction background, et cetera, et cetera. So we're big time perfectionists in that way. And so, of course, we have big dreams of what we always wanted our dream home to look like. We're obsessed with modern design, et cetera, et cetera. We live in a California Spanish ranch style home, and it sits on half an acre. Just to say the least, our whole lives were flipped upside down when we moved in. I mean, we've had a lot of fixing to do in this home and stuff like that, but we do have plans of renovating the entire thing, of completely transforming it into our dream home. And there's been a delay because a lot of things, when someone passes away, everything doesn't just transfer over right overnight. There's a lot of emotions and, paperwork and all these things that have to be done before one could just completely, take a home and refinance and, just do all these things to it. So there's been a delay. But going back to this whole thing, Adam and I had, especially Adam, I want to say, would say, well, I would tell him let's just paint the cabinets. And we have old 70s, cabinets. Let's just paint them and see what we can do. And, and with his conditioning, sometimes he said, no, what for? We're going to be, gutting the whole kitchen anyway. What does it matter? But we have to live in this kitchen for a year was my thought, right? So I finally, and I would just kind of listen. I would just all right, you're right. Why should we do it? But then I realized, wait, we're not thriving in this kitchen. We're not embracing what here is now. What if, by the time we go and we gut it and we do all of this stuff, what if I'm not around for that anymore? What if something was to happen to me? What if something was to happen in the home and we never reached that? Why don't we do the little things right now just to embrace what is now, right? What is available to us now? Why don't we find the blessing in that? So one day I just went out, I bought paint and I transformed the kitchen, and now he loves it and he sees just what a difference that paint can make, what a difference that just completely being creative and figuring out a way to just embrace what is, how beautiful, the unveiling can be of something that already has always been there right in front of us and just needed a little bit of tender love and care, right? And that was eye-opening even for myself, because really I didn't, before I didn't do it. I kind of just said, yeah, why would I do it? We're going to be blowing it all out anyway. But I didn't anticipate the delay. I didn't, plan on having such a delay on doing everything. So the whole point is sometimes everything is preparing us for something more, but finding the blessing in every single step of the way is really going to just, when we get there, when we arrive at that place that we want to get to, we're so much better equipped because we found gratitude, because we found strength in all things in the process of reaching higher ground. And as long as you come back to a place within yourself where you line up with that vision that God has for you, so that vision that this thing that is happening is a blessing, when you can line up with that, everything else falls into place. So going back to this whole thing about us painting the cabinets in our kitchen, et cetera, those small little things may seem so small, but in the end, they're tiny little steps that will help us thrive in the future. So when someone might say, for example, Adam said, why paint the kitchen? It doesn't matter. We're going to be blowing it out anyway. Well, we're going to have to live with it for some time. And maybe painting that kitchen is going to make me feel a little better when I cook, and if I feel a little better when I cook, maybe my meals will be a little bit better. And maybe if my meals are a little bit better, our dinners will be a little happier. And if our dinners are a little happier, maybe our family and our love, everything around will start to be happier. So you see how it becomes like a snowball effect? It's like a chain reaction. Positive actions bring more positive things. So that one thing that you may feel like, well, I didn't plan for this. Well, that one thing that you maybe just can transform into a blessing, and once you see it into a blessing and you become that one thing that becomes gratitude, then at that point, when it becomes a blessing and when you can be grateful for it, even though you didn't plan for it, then that thing turns into more of that, right? So it grows. So that's where I'm at. As always, I just, with these Candid Sundays, I just kind of speak my mind and just go about my day in that way. But I really just, finding the realization that the blessing lies in everything. It's not just about what we plan. It's not about how comfortable, if this is uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good, it can't be good. This is uncomfortable, therefore this isn't good. This isn't teaching me. It's actually the contrary. It's about learning the lessons. I've talked about this a million times. Our entire purpose on this planet is to learn lessons so that when we reach higher ground, when we reach our dreams, when we reach our goals, we are prepared to keep it. We are equipped to be able to sustain a life that is worthy of having the life that we set out for ourselves, if that makes any sense. Anyway, guys, I wish you all a happy Sunday, and I hope that you took even just the smallest little bit from this. Hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this podcast today, we do ask that you give us a rating and a review. It really helps new listeners be exposed to Good Vibes Sunday and bring them on over. So as always, we appreciate you and thank you. Thank you for tuning in, Good Vibers. And be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Sunday by downloading the podcast app found at the App Store. Catch you all next week. Have a happy, happy Sunday.